the chief purpose of apologetics is not to win arguments, but to win souls. Do you know who said that?
Who?
William Lane Craig. And when I came across some of his work as well in the historical Adam, one of the things that you said that this threatens to destabilize Christian doctrine in general. Is this, do you think, we were talking about majors, minors. Do you see this as, something that may not necessarily be a major doctrine, but maybe a minor doctrine that can lead to ultimately us unhitching from some major doctrines? Is that why you took a stand on that? Do you still have, a stand on that?
Are you talking about his stuff on the historical Adam? Is that what you're referencing?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Revo Report. We're inspiring faith with reason and reason with faith.
Yes.
I haven't changed my position on it. I think it is absolutely essential that we affirm a historical Adam. If we don't, we haven't necessarily lost the Christian faith and the Christian meta-narrative, but we have certainly taken a nice little screwdriver borrowed from the liberal theologians, and we have unscrewed some screws and untightened things that need to be solid and sturdy. And so can you believe in a non-historical Adam in Genesis 1 through 3 and be a Christian? I think you can. I certainly think William Lane Craig is, and I think William Lane Craig has made real contributions to Christian apologetics in different areas, numerous areas. And I think in that piece, if you go back to it from years ago, I tried to indicate respect for him and make clear that he's ahead of me in the Christian faith and in Christian ministry leadership and all that sort of thing. But I disagree with him on that issue. And the reason why I speak up on some of those issues is not just to stake out a different position than a William Lane Craig or a Alistair Begg on a certain matter. It's because there's a lot of people those men do influence, and I'm trying to help other people see this persuasive, very gifted man at this moment in time who errs just like I err, maybe saying it's fine to not really have a historical Adam. I would encourage people not to go that way. But you also mellow a bit in time, you mature, to use a more biblical word. And I'm not saying I would repudiate what I said about Craig, because I wouldn't. I hold to it. But I also have gone through some fires myself. And probably at this stage in my life, I'm not doing as much of the response blogging as I was earlier. And I think there is some genuine growth there, too. Every issue isn't threat level nuclear the way sometimes it has felt to me at different moments.
Right, yeah. When it comes to that, because that's something that I've wrestled with as well. I remember when going through some of his work in that, I really had to kind of question as well and dig deep into it. Was there a global flood? Is it a local flood? Are we going to challenge Genesis? Because one of the things that sometimes I forget who I got this from, but I teach it to our congregation is one of the two books that the devil will always attack is Genesis and Revelation, right? Because if you can get rid of Genesis, you can get rid of Revelation, then nothing in between matters, really. And in terms of that, though, why do you think that it is important to keep, that screw really tightened?
Yeah, it's one of several, just to be clear. You were getting into it there, that we want firmly in place. There is room for different understandings of the age of the earth, I believe, in terms of Christian theology. I don't think old earth theology, held by a conservative evangelical, let's say, means you're actually a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't think that at all, personally. I think there's a viable debate to have about numerous matters. I do think historical Adam is a particularly sticky one because Adam is presented as a real person in Genesis 1 through 3, but not just in Genesis 1 through 3, in 2 Corinthians and other 1 Corinthians 15 and other passages. So you've got the whole of the Christian drama of redemption hanging on the first and second Adam, the first and last Adam and Jesus Christ. And if you get into historical theology, not just exegetical theology unto systematic, but if you get into historical theology, you see that this is one of the three main doors taken to liberal Protestantism of the last 200 years, to start going to Scripture and saying this figure is not historical, this figure is, this one isn't, this miracle happened, this one didn't, and you start doing miracle buffet with the Bible and saying some of it's historical where it's presented as historical, some of it's not. There is no way out of that sliding black hole you have just put yourself and any you influence in, outside of the grace of God vacuuming you back up to the top. That's what Jefferson, that's what deists of the 19th century in Europe do. They come to different passages and figures and they start dehistoricizing. It is an on-ramp to liberalism, which doesn't mean William Lane Craig, last thing, is a Protestant liberal. It does mean buyer beware, that line of thought.
Okay, so it can lead you to that. You're saying it's a doorway to that. It's
a door, and we are not justified by doubt. We are justified by faith. Faith there does not mean good sentiments sent upward like a red balloon in Jesus' direction. Faith is trust in what God has done and said, specifically in the finished work of Jesus Christ on the cross for sinners like us, leading to the resurrection, and 48 days later, the ascension. We are justified by faith. To be a Christian is to be a faith-filled person, not because we are such impressive trusters, but because God fills us. I keep being on balloons here. I don't know why. God fills us like a balloon with the air, the oxygen of faith. And that means that when you come to Scripture in functional terms, you are not coming to Scripture doubting it. You are coming to Scripture from a hermeneutic or a line of interpretation of faith. That doesn't mean you shut your brain off and you never ask a question. There's a bad form of this that can happen where, any child meekly raises their hand in family devotions and asks a question, and dad shoots thunder at that child for even thinking you can ask a question about the Bible. There's no questions about the Bible. That's not what we mean. Ask all sorts of questions. We want our kids to ask questions. We want to sort things out. But sorting things out when we don't understand and need further understanding is very different from doubting what is there in the text and saying, okay, I think I believe in Abraham. Yeah, I have no way to affirm either of these individuals, but yeah, you know what? Abraham seems like a real person to me. Put him in the green column. Adam, I'm having trouble with Adam. Put Adam in the red. He's a literary figure, but he's not a historical figure. How do you prove that, by the way? What? I just take that on your word? Well, now we are down to, if I teach people, Adam's not a historical person. He's a literary character, like in the Chronicles of Narnia. All that has actually happened, I haven't established anything beyond a shadow of a doubt. All I have done is put my word against the Bible's word. And who do you trust? This is what liberal theologians, I'm not saying that's Craig, but this is what liberal theologians truly asked people to do. They didn't have photographs of Eden to show you Adam wasn't really there. He's pretend. They said, trust my word over the Bible. And that's what recurs with all these issues. So trust God. Let every man be a liar.
Yeah. Wow. I've never thought about it from that perspective.